and I'll first give a quick presentation, and then we'll go to the demo. And please ignore me and feel free to focus on the screen. Development processes are evolving. It was waterfall, but that was extremely inflexible and rigid. So people replaced waterfall with Scrum. Some problems remained, however. Scrum assumes you can estimate work accurately, and this consumes a lot of the developer's time to plan and negotiate. And I found personally that negotiation also strains the relationship between developers and managers. So next was Agile. It fixed most of the problems with Scrum, but it focuses only on the development process, not so much on the idea, how ideas become requirements, and not so much about doing deployments. To make it work with deployments, we got DevOps, but we think that's not still a complete solution. And another problem is making Agile work with larger distributed teams. I've seen several Fortune 500 companies that adopted Agile, but still took a year to roll out a single change. So, to evolve Agile for the entire process and to make it work with large and distributed teams, we adopted Conversational Development. It has 5 principles. The first one is to reduce the cycle time to increase effectiveness. And the cycle time is how long it takes you to get from idea to production. The second thing is to monitor that process. The third one is to track the conversation through all stages. So that means when you deployed some code, you still know what idea started it. And you can follow everything that happened along that route. The fourth idea is to make gatekeepers part of the conversation. So instead of security people holding back on a deployment, instead you invite them to become part of your code review. And last but not least, the idea that the rest of the organization can contribute. Repositories are open to other team members by default, and they can make suggestions. So the biggest difference between large and small organizations is their cycle time. Small organizations can roll out the change in weeks, larger ones take months. With conversational development, the benefits of small organizations are available to larger ones. And those benefits are 5 things. The first one is the most important one. Shipping smaller and simpler changes increases efficiency. And it does it in a couple of ways. If you ship a small change, it's more in line with the expectations and needs of stakeholders. It's easier to coordinate and reason about. The code review is of higher quality. We find that if a code review is 10 lines, it gets a lot more attention than when it's 1,000 lines, especially relative to the number of lines. It's easier to troubleshoot a small release, and it prevents overshooting needs. The user decides when it's done, when you no longer have to iterate on it. You don't have to guess up front as a developer. The second thing is that frequent iterations gather more information from the market. A product that is user-facing, you're going to get much better feedback than some plan you devised. Third thing, it's quicker to respond to market needs. Like if you need a change, you can roll it out quicker, which also gives a higher predictability. And last but not least, a sense of progress for the whole team. Constantly increasing and shipping and having users excited about your changes is really motivating. We at GitLab look forward to the 22nd, and one user tweeted, I look forward to the 22nd more than the 23rd, even though the 23rd is my birthday this month. So how do you go faster from idea to production? You need an integrated set of tools to facilitate conversational development. If your tools are not integrated, you spend a lot of time setting them up, switching between them, adopting to tools that have been set up differently. An integrated set of tools allows you to focus on software development itself. And there's one source of truth, so you can follow the conversation through all stages and quickly identify where the process should be sped up. With an integrated set of tools, even large or distributed teams should be able to reduce their cycle time from months to weeks. So we think GitLab is an ideal tool for the 10 stages of the software development lifecycle. If you have an idea, you can chat about it in Mattermost chat that we ship as part of our packages. You can create an issue in our issue tracker, plan it on our issue board, code it in the terminal that we'll show publicly for the first time today. You can commit it to a repository, test it with our CI and container registry. You can review merge requests, have review apps, and can deploy to staging. We'll show / commands in chat to deploy to production. And afterwards, you can get feedback about where you can improve in cycle analytics. So I want to show you a demo. Oh, please bless the Wi-Fi in this house. And we're going to see how nervous I am typing this. So what I'm logging into now is an OpenShift origin server. This is a Kubernetes server. Kubernetes is a container scheduler, and we think we're pretty bullish on container schedulers. We think they're the future of how to host applications. We set up our own Kubernetes cluster based on OpenShift, which is from Red Hat, which is open source. I'm going to set up a new project there. I'm going to give it the very unoriginal name of GitLab, because what we'll first do is we have to set up GitLab itself. And then what I'll do, I'll instantiate GitLab from a template that you can find on our installation page. This template defines not only the GitLab Rails app, but all its different dependencies. Pasting the template in OpenShift, and now it will start creating. So we got to set the GitLab hostname. I will also give Mattermost a nice host name so that it's not generated. So what we now see is a container scheduler instantiating all of our different containers. The first one is our Rails container. This is the container or the pod for Mattermost, the chat client. This is Postgres. This is Redis. This is the GitLab runner. I'll show later, we'll come back to GitLab runner, and hopefully it will show that it's auto-scaling our tests. So as more containers are needed to test, to run our test, more will be created. So in the rest of the demo, I'll take you through everything that you need in order to go from idea to production. We'll see the chatting, we'll create an issue, we'll plan that issue with an issue board. I'll show coding and debugging with terminal access, committing to version control, doing merge requests for code review, testing with continuous integration, getting peer reviews with live review apps, continuous deployment to staging, and closing that loop by deploying to production with chat, and last but not least, measure how fast you're going with cycle analytics. With GitLab, everything is integrated out of the box. And I hope to complete the demo of setting up GitLab and taking an app to a complete life cycle within 20 minutes. So I want to touch on cycle analytics for a while. So the idea is that you track all the different stages going from just chatting about something to having it out in the open. So cycle analytics will track how long it took you to create an issue, how long it took you to plan that issue, and then from planning an issue, how long it took you to start coding on it, doing your first commit, testing that, how long the review took, how long it was on staging, how long it took you to get to production. So what we want to show in companies, it's very easy to say you should go from idea to production faster. The hard thing is how do you get there? And by showing to the company where things are being held up, is it in code review? Is our production deployments a problem? Or do we plan stuff and not have time for half a year before we start on them? What is the problem so we can then start improving that? So GitLab should be booted up now, so I'll go to there, and I'll first have to set up my, my root account. So I set a password for my root account, and now my first step is to create a new group to work in. In the group, I'll create a new project. Great, we have the project, and I'm going to start by just adding a simple file to the project. Now a file is okay, but I also need to run this. We actually want a web server. So the next step will be specifying a Docker file with a simple Apache web server. How many people are timing me? This is a very simple web server. We've got the Docker file going. Now one thing we still have to do is integrate the CI and tell it more about our OpenShift environment. The most important thing is it gets a credential to start up new OpenShift servers, and for that it needs this token. So I'll add these tokens as environmental variables to GitLab. And we're still working on this, but for now we still have to set which server we are on. And if you think this is taking long, start thinking about how long it takes you to set up, if you start a new company, how long it takes you to set up everything that GitLab does with other solutions. Because we've seen people taking weeks to set up complete development environments. Great. All the tokens should be in place. So the next step is to set up GitLab CI. And we'll just use the default template. There's a lot of default templates, and we'll use the one for OpenShift here. Great, so now that that's set up, we can start our cycle. And what you normally have is you start with having an idea. And at GitLab, since we're fully remote, most of the time ideas start in chat. So let's go to our chat server. Sign in with GitLab. You can sign in via OAuth, create a new team. You create a chat room that's especially for our project. So someone might have a great idea. And what we find frequently is that those great ideas, they fall by the wayside, like people don't follow up. So what we think is important, when you have a great idea, you describe it, and you make sure it lands on the issue tracker. You no longer have to ask, did you make an issue for that, because you can see it right in the chat. So here's the issue and all the benefits of the GitLab issue tracker, but I assume many people have seen that. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go to the issue board. We're going to add the default lists. We're going to say, we're doing this. Great, now we're on it. What I want to show now is how you can debug, how you can use the GitLab terminal for debugging. So to do that, we're going to go to pipelines. We're going to look at our environments, and we have a staging environment already. What we can do, there's a button that just takes me to the terminal on that container. I'm going to make a small change, save it. When I now press a link, I can see that we updated our site. So I just made a small change, and it's now running in the container. But this edit, the next deployment, it will be overwritten. So if we want to blast, we have to make sure it ends up in version control. So I'll go to the file, make a small edit. I can use our online editor. And now instead of immediately merging it, I'm going to start a merge request with it, and I'm going to specify as a target branch a branch that starts with a number. And that one there, that number is the same number as our issue, and GitLab will understand what we're meaning. Because based on that, it will say, hey, probably, if you're done with this, you close issue number 1. So let's create this merge request. And as soon as we've created it, we should be kicking off the CI/CD pipeline. So let's have a look there, what's happening under the hood. So this is the pipeline. It has a build stage, 2 testing stage, and a review stage. We can click on this and see a live log of the review app being deployed. What we should also see is that here in OpenShift, more runners are spun up automatically to deal with our testing load. So here we see our runners, and before it was just 1, but now it's 1, 2. There was 1 here, but it was just taken off, right, as I'm showing this. So depending on your load, you'll get more and less CI runners. So you never have to wait for your builds to be started. You don't have to wait at the end of your sprint on other colleagues. So now we got this merge request. You can do what you normally do with GitLab. Review it, leave a comment edit. So let's say something nice. Thumbs up here. And what's really, really handy about GitLab and about if you use CI and use review apps, for every merge request, it's going to say, hey, this was deployed. So it's deployed to review /homepage, and I can see what my state will be after I deploy it. So you no longer have to take like screenshots of either UI change. You just boot up your complete application and show it like that. So people can click around, can play around with your things. So that looked pretty good. So we'll just merge it. So we merge it into master, and that will trigger a new job for staging. If I go to the staging environment, at some point, now it's still the old one, at some point it should update. And that's when this job is complete. Build succeeded, but it doesn't update. That is interesting, and that's the benefit of giving live demos. But I have high faith that if we push this to production, the homepage is going to look better than it was before. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go back to MetaMos, and we're going to say deploy staging to production. And that's going to kick off another job to deploy to production. So So what we've done is we went from having an idea in chat, creating an issue for that, planning that issue with our board, doing some coding and some debugging in the online IDE, committing code with the file editor, testing the code with CI, reviewing it, deploying it to staging, seeing the rocket explode, now deploying it to production. Hopefully more luck there. Well, maybe this is also maybe a chance to show off something else. So if you have your environments, if you have the staging environment, what you can also do is look at a history of everything that was deployed there. And if we're not sure whether it was deployed correctly, we can redeploy it. So let's also do that. And I think a more important button most of the time, if a deployment messes with your system, you can easily roll back from here. And you'll have that for everything set up out of the box. So you don't have to have your own tooling, your own apps. So if I now go to the production environment and click, thank goodness, here is the idea to production demo. So that deployed. The only thing I still want to show is this cycle analytics, which I talked about before. So here you have some general statistics about your project. But you can see it took me less than a minute to plan the issue, a few minutes, time to plan it. The review took 2 minutes, deploying to staging took 2, and then deploying to production took 6 minutes. So here, normally this will not be minutes, but this will be hours, days, maybe weeks. The whole idea is that you can see where you're slowing down and you can take action on that. So that's it. We've taken you on this journey. I think it was less than 20 minutes. We installed GitLab from scratch, took an idea through all the stages, issue tracking, planning, coding, and we ended up closing the feedback loop with cycle analytics. And this all on top of a container scheduler that allows GitLab, the GitLab runners for CI, and the applications we deploy to scale. Welcome to GitLab, and thanks for watching.